and welcome back to A Better Quesnel. We're really happy that you have been taking the time to join us in watching and learning from the videos that we are presenting to you, because this is really near and dear to our hearts, being able to share all our recipes with you. We wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, any comments about any of the recipes that we are doing, please send them to us. If you have a recipe that you would like to share, that you would like us to possibly present here on Better Quesnel, please drop us a line. Please let us know, because we want this absolutely to be a community event for each and every one of you that are able to take part in what we are presenting here each time. So I would just like to introduce Penny. She is my mom and has been a plant-based cook for many, many years. And she is the one that I learned from so many years ago. So Mom is going to be sharing a very special family recipe that all of her grown children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren absolutely enjoy. So, Penny, let's see what we're going to make today.
Okay, I have decided to teach the younger generation how to make homemade bread, because bread is so expensive nowadays, and raising a family, I know it can be very costly. So I have decided to make you homemade bread. So I'm going to put the ingredients in here. Instead of 8 cups of water, I have used 6 cups of water, so it doesn't take as long. The loaf that I have, the bread I have rising, I have used 8 cups of water.
So Mom, what's the temperature of this water?
It's hot, but it's not boiling. Because time you put the ingredients in, it's going to cool your water off a bit. So we want it warm so the yeast will rise. We don't want to ever toss the salt in with the yeast. We want the salt to go in first with your water, and then last we want your yeast to go in. Okay. So now I am adding salt, honey.
Now if they don't have honey, Mom, can they use another sweetener?
Yes, they can use sugar.
Okay.
There is a 1/4 cup of oil. There's a 1/4 cup of honey.
And honey is a wonderful substitute for sugar, because sugar, when you eat sugar, it enters your system very quickly, and with honey it's a slower process to ingest honey. So if you have honey, it's wonderful to use that.
Now I'm going to add oil, 1/4 cup. Now, if you want, you can put flax seeds in this, a little bit of rolled oats instead of flour. You can use white flour if you want. I was teaching my granddaughters here a week or 2 ago how to make bread, and one chose to make white bread. And the more water you use, the more bread you're going to get. And the less water you use, like this batch right here, is only 6 cups of water. The last one I made to show you is 8 cups of water. Now, my granddaughters, one got 7 loaves of bread out of hers, and the other one got 8 loaves of bread.
And it's also a family activity. So if your younger children want to get up to the counter, they want to pull those chairs up and help you, this is also really, really fun for them.
So now I'm going to start adding my flour. As you notice, I did not put my yeast in yet. Now, if you want to put raisins, make this out cinnamon bread, put in a tablespoon of cinnamon and put it in here and stir it up with the rest of it. If you want to use sunflower seeds or raisins or cashews or walnuts, feel welcome to. You know, maybe half a cup to a cup, it's up to you.
And going to our mothers, we always think of bread. All her grown children, and going to her deep freezer or her fridge is always a surprise, because when we get a loaf of bread out of her fridge, we never know what is going to be in that loaf of bread. So we'll pull the toaster out, we'll toast the bread, and put some jam on it, and usually never stop at just one slice.
And you know, surprise, Mother never knows either. Usually I play with bread machines. Those are my toys, and usually I used to have about 5 or 6 of them on the go when I decided to break bread. And I would just pick recipes out of the cookbook and made them. Well, by the time they were baked, I didn't have a clue what they were, so they were a surprise to all of us.
Now, tell us why you're waiting to add the yeast, Mom. Why is that?
Because the yeast goes in last, because you do not want to mix your salt and your yeast at the same time, because it will kill your yeast. So you want to make sure that salt is mixed up before you add your yeast. Now, can they see right in here, Tony, with that camera?
You have to flip it up.
So you see, I am stirring up this dough. Now you can add the yeast. Add some more flour.
And how many tablespoons of yeast did you use, Mom?
I used, in this 6 cups, I used a tablespoon. But if you're using more than 6 cups, I would use 2 tablespoons of yeast. No, it doesn't matter what kind of yeast you can use.
Do you suggest the traditional yeast or the quick rise yeast?
Well, you can use either. You know, just put it in here. You can use the yeast out of the package where you have to dilute it with water.
Which, in all your years of making bread, can you tell us which one do you find works the best, especially if we are just, we have someone that's watching that they've never made bread before and they want to have, you know, we want them to be successful. So what type of yeast would you suggest for them?
Well, the one you mix with water, that came out about 50 years ago, and I've been baking bread for about 50 years. Now that I'm a widow, I still break bread. And my grandchildren, my granddaughters usually come over and have a look in one of my freezers and see if there's any bread there, so they can take home a loaf or 2.
So what yeast would you suggest? Does it matter?
Quick rise will do, or anything like that.
Okay.
And you want to make sure you use honey or sugar, because that's what makes your yeast work.
The sugar activates the yeast, or the honey activates the yeast?
Yes.
Okay.
You can use milk if you want for the liquid, but I prefer to use water.